Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing okay. Today we're going to be taking a look at higher order components and how you can use them inside your React applications. So if you've been programming with React for a while, I guess you've seen most of these functions here, and they are examples of higher order components. So they take your component and they do some wrapping around it to inject props or do some kind of a manipulation with the component. So we're going to be creating our own datafetcher API. Higher order component today. So first of all, we have a component here that is basically just fetching some data, and then I have simulated a timeout since this is so fast, so we can actually see the loading occurring, and then it just sets the state with the result from that API fetch. And then inside our render function, we're just checking if we're loading or not. And if we're loading, we're returning a spinner. And otherwise, we're just showing the posts that we're fetching. So first of all, what do we have to do? We have to create a new folder. I'm going to call this fetcher. And then just create a index.js file here. And then we want to import React. Like that. And then we want to export a default function, which will take in the URL we want to fetch the data from, and also our wrapped component, which is going to be the app in this case. Then we want to create a class here. So class fetcher extends react.component, like that. Give it a render function. Perfect. And we're going to give this a state as well. So state. And we're going to have a slot here just having the data in it, so it's going to be null as default. So now we can go back to our app.js file, and I'm going to take everything here and just paste that in here. So we're going to do the fetching here, but replace this URL with the URL coming in, so you can dynamically choose which URL you want to fetch from. And I'm still doing the simulation here, and then we want to set the data to the result, and we don't need this loading thing here because we can check if we have any data here. So in the render function, first we want to check if we have the data, so I'm going to use the structuring first of all. So const data is equal to this.state, and then just check if we don't have any data. Then we want to return some kind of a loader or a spinner, and I have actually created one of those using style components. So I'm simply going to import that. So import spinner from spinner, like that, and then just return that. And at the end of the function, if we actually have data, then we want to render our components. So then return the wrapped component. And then we have to pass in every prop coming into this higher order component. So we're going to do ... this.props. And then we're going to send in the data, which is going to be data coming from the state that we're updating after we've gotten our result back from the API call. So that is basically it for this. And then we of course have to return this class at the end of the function. So return the fetcher. Perfect, save that. Go back to the app. And now we can go ahead and import this fetcher. So import, I'm going to call it with fetcher because that seems to be the naming convention. From fetcher. And at the end where you export your component, you can simply wrap the app with this. And then we're going to take this URL and throw it in as the first argument. So now we're going to fetch this, wait until the API call has been loaded, and then render this component. So now we can remove basically everything of that, and we can remove the loading, and this is going to be coming from the props now, which is called data. And then we can replace the posts with data. So we can save that. We can go back and open up the application, and let's see, cannot read property map of null. Well, that's not good. So let's go back and let's see if we have data. If we don't have data, that's the problem. And now if we check, we have a spinner until we get our posts. So if we refresh that and check it again, you can see that everything works properly. You can of course extend this logic by passing in like method bodies and doing post calls instead of gets. But this is a really good example of why you should use higher order components to modularize your logic, because then you can reuse it in every component if you'd like to. So that's it for this tutorial. I might do another one on higher order components and a function called componentDid catch in the future, which is basically making sure that your application doesn't fail if there has been an error inside it, and that can be really good to use with the higher order components. Other than that, I think we're done. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like, and I'll see you next time. Bye.